What is going on, Movie Meals? Movie Meals, thank you, Movie Meal patrons, Kimberly, Karen. Hey, guys, try to help get us to 1,000 or 2,000 subscribers. We're going to do a giveaway a great Movie Meals hoodie that we have here to a lucky fan that is commenting and supporting. We've had a lot of people commenting and supporting lately, and we really, really like that. I forgot to tell Kyle this before the show aired, so I'm just going to say right now, unless Kyle's feeling excited without me to do the podcast by himself, we've had little hiatuses, but this will be a legit hiatus. I will be out of town. I got next week. As soon as next weekend hits, I'm on an airplane. I'm out of here for a week. So there should hopefully be still reviews and such, but maybe the podcast for sure will probably take a couple week breather. Hoping when we come back, we can start doing some live podcasts this summer. We'll see on that. But again, go like, subscribe, comment, share, do all that great stuff because it really does help us, and we really want to give away a hoodie to a fan. So go ahead and do all that, guys. And Kyle, what's our first topic of today?
How about we start off with someone who is totally not a bad person, David O. Russell. How's that to start off the podcast?
Classic Dave, huh?
Oh, jeez. Deadline reported that Will Ferrell is going to star in a biopic of John Madden with David O. Russell directing. I never know how to call it. Biopic?
Tomato, biopic, biology, the study of bios, you know what I mean?
Christianity,
what? All right, now you've gone off the rails. Show just started. Get back to it here.
All right. But there's not much else in regards to that announcement, just that casting news. But I did find it interesting that it was a script that was on the blacklist. It's a script written by Cameron Clark, and Russell has apparently been doing a rewrite of that script during the writer's strike. So, is he allowed to do that? I don't even know what the rules are. Probably.
There's a lot of rules.
Yeah, too many for us to know about. But those are some of the details of what we know of from this project. Alex, do you have any thoughts about it at all?
I know Will Ferrell was looked at to play the role John C. Reilly got of David Buss in the Winning Time show. Obviously, it's not David O. Russell. And I know that there was some controversy around why he didn't get that, and that maybe he was too slapsticky in the way Will wanted to take it was too slapsticky or whatever, is what I remember hearing. So I'm really actually interested in everything about this except David O. Russell. I mean, I love David O. Russell's movies. I'm not a big fan of him, especially after the reports of what he did to my girl, Amy Adams. For our movie club, we've been watching Her, and I forgot Amy Adams was in it. We were watching it last night, and I was like, oh, my man, where's Amy Adams been for the last couple years? Oh, man, I think she is a wonderful talent.
Good projects.
So, yeah, well, except for Enchanted 2, Electric Boogaloo. But I
forgot that was a real movie.
I
forgot that was real.
Minus the Electric Boogaloo part.
You might as well label it that.
Look, David O. Russell has made some of my favorite movies ever. I love Silver Linings Playbook. He's made a lot of really great movies. He's a turd of a human, it sounds like. Everybody separates the art from the artist in their own way. Some people say I'm not supporting them. Some people can say I want to go support, the other 1,000 people on the crew. Some people say I just like going to see movies. Who cares? And, in that case, I wonder if Will's taking on this role because he is irked by that. And I really hope he would actually, I don't see David O. Russell allowing for it to be a comedy. So I'm more curious in Will in the role than I am necessarily the director, but I am very curious to see what Will can do in this role.
Yeah, I mean, between this and him really trying hard to be in Winning Time, it seems like he's trying to take the path that some comedians have been taking in going from being the comedy guy to being a dramatic guy and really flesh out their acting skills, which in no means do I not support that. If Will Ferrell really wants to, take that next step in his career, especially in the later parts of his acting career, then so be it. I can't really say that I see him in the John Madden role, but that's the thing with biopics. You can transform into the role, makeup helps, especially, So it's going to be one that I'll be a little bit curious of, but I think I just need to see a trailer and see how the performance looks before I make a judgment on if I'm really excited for this movie or not. And in regards to David O. Russell, it's really disappointing, first and foremost, to hear that he sounds like a despicable person. And it's also kind of frustrating to see these despicable people getting to have these projects greenlit no problem, especially with Amsterdam being, one, not a good movie, and two, not doing anything in the box office, where studios are still like, yeah, sure, let's give this guy another shot again. So there's some conflict within that, but like you were saying, Alex, separate the art from the artist however you will. It's just frustrating that we're still like going through these motions of giving scummy people these types of chances, in my opinion. But in regards to Will Ferrell being in this role, I don't know if he is capable of taking the next step as a dramatic actor, but who knows? Like, it could be a very big surprise that we've seen with many other comedians be able to nail.
It's also an easier shift. People get this confused all the time. Comedy's harder. It's harder. There's a reason that not every actor can be a stand-up comic, but almost every stand-up comic can suddenly be a great performer in a dramatic turn. Like, we see it all the time. And it's just true. So I think Will can do it. Will he do it? Well, I mean, we'll have to wait and see. But I am curious about what the movie will be. Anyway, what's next on the docket here?
Next up is from The Hollywood Reporter, announcing that the main characters of How to Train Your Dragon in Hiccup and Astrid have been announced. Hiccup is going to be played by the Black Phone star Mason Timms. Apologies if I'm mispronouncing the name.
Biopic?
Biopic?
Biology?
Biology? So anyway, Mason is going to be playing the role of Hiccup, while The Last of Us actress Nico Parker is going to be playing Astrid. So, Alex, you got any thoughts? What do we think?
Look, do we need this movie? No. Simple answer. We don't. Are we upset by this movie? I don't know why you'd be upset about a movie. That's weird. But what I will say is that when Hollywood does the same response I have to the remakes that Disney's making. Well, my first response is give us Treasure Planet and Atlantis live action, you cowards. But moving past that, my next answer is we're going to get it anyway. Let's hope it's a good product. Who's involved? What's going on here? That's going to matter because it's going to happen anyway, you know? And I think these two cast are great choices. Nico in The Last of Us is not in it a lot, but she's great. And so I'm all for it. I think she's phenomenal. Mason, I did not love The Black Phone. I liked it enough, but I thought he was very good. So I'm very interested in this cast. I think you've got two really young and potential up-and-coming stars where they can do multiple movies here. And look, How to Train Your Dragon is not that old. You know, Disney announces a Moana remake, and we're like, Moana didn't come out that long ago. Funny enough, if they were going to do a live-action remake of any property that was not that old, I think I would kind of prefer How to Train Your Dragon over like a Moana or all these other things. Obviously, different studios, but you know, seeing people fly around on dragons is awesome. Like Peach Dragon, underrated film. That's a great live-action Disney remake, and it's so good. Anyway.
That might be one of my favorite reviews, actually. Like,
it's so good.
If I were to make a list, I had a lot of fun making that review. That was a fun movie.
What are your thoughts?
I'll start off with talking about, like, does this need to be a remake? No, obviously, I wouldn't say that it needs to be a remake. It breaks my heart a little if I'm going to be dramatic about it, because I love the animated movies so much, especially number 2 in my opinion. Like, they just are able to have this way of just kind of like what the Spider-Verse movies have done, of just being able to have me so completely focused and in awe of like the animation and how to make such a spectacle and a beautiful story out of it. So to hear, and especially so quickly to hear that a live action remake is being done, I just would have liked it at the very least for there to be a little bit more time before we did this for this property, but obviously I'm not in control, so that's just the way it is. But in terms of the casting itself, I don't mind it one bit. I really enjoyed The Black Phone more than Alex did, and I thought Mason was a real big reason why. I thought that kid really showed some acting chops, and there might be like a star quality to him in my opinion. So I'm really happy to see him land a big role such as what this could become. And Nico Parker, again, like Alex was saying, not a very major role for her, but when she was on screen, I was very interested in the story. She probably was a part, because I don't play The Last of Us video games, she was a good part of why I was hooked onto the first few episodes of the show and then was able to enjoy it as much as I did, because it was just such a good performance that helped me get into like what the show was about. So I'm really curious to see how these two are going to pull off these characters, and I really wish them the best, because these could really be major movies to help them take the next step as like big actors in the industry perhaps. So good on them. So happy for that.
So it's being directed by Dean DeBlois, if I'm saying that last name right. Did you mention that? You probably did. Do you know what he's done?
Thank you. I believe he was the guy that directed the previous How to Train Your Dragon movies, the animated ones, but I can double check that.
So I'm looking at it right now. He hasn't directed anything according to IMDb. He wrote them. He wrote the How to Train Your Dragon movies. He wrote the original Lilo and Stitch movie. But he is currently tapped to be the writer, it looks like, for Lilo and Stitch, the live-action movie. And it looks like the How to Train Your Dragon live-action, he is set to write and direct. So this is his first actual movie. Wow. Interesting. I didn't see the internet complaining about this.
I think I do remember that. Maybe I'm misremembering that. But anyway, you go.
When we talked about this a couple weeks ago with Dave Filoni, and how some critics are upset that this is such a big movie project jump for him, and I made the point that, a Star Wars show legitimately is probably very similar to the production of a Star Wars movie. So I'm not necessarily sure that he, hasn't had some experience in that case. With Dean here, it's a little bit different story. He's never directed anything. Now, you look at a guy like Brad Bird. Brad Bird had never done live action, and then what was his first movie? I'm pretty sure it was Mission Impossible 4, which is freaking phenomenal. Yeah. So, look, if you're the writer and creator of How to Train Your Dragon, and they come up to you and say, we want you to write and direct live action, and you're like, man, this is a dream come true for me, I think that's full support. We don't know what this guy is like behind the scenes. New directors, if they come in and they're doing all this experimental stuff, and they're like, no, this is my first time, I got to really prove it, and they end up just failing, and they don't really ask for help. The movie, that's one thing. But if he comes in and he's like, look, I'm going to have my second unit ADs, they're really good, they're going to help me, I've been on sets. I mean, he's definitely been on sets before, but this is a little bit of a point that makes me a little more hesitant than anything else that we've heard, but I actually am very excited, because if you are the writer of 3 of the best animated movies and arguably one of the best trilogies ever made, you're gonna know what you're talking about here. So, all right, what, you got thoughts on that, or you want to move on?
I think that was a good catch in bringing that up. I didn't really think about it that way. Yeah, it makes me hold my breath, but I am willing to give the guy the benefit of the doubt. But I am a bit more comfortable in knowing that he has written these movies before, and a big part of why I love the anime movies was the story. So hopefully he's able to find a way to recapture that great storytelling, but maybe put a twist on it in a live action medium. So yeah, just we'll really hope that this guy has what it takes to make a big jump like this one, hoping that it works out for him.
All right, what's next?
Next is from Variety, where producer Amy Pascal of the Spider-Man movies was saying that a live-action Miles Morales movie is in the works, along with an animated Spider-Woman movie. And on top of that, she did state that a 4th Spider-Man movie within the MCU from Tom Holland and Zendaya is still in the works. Or at least I imagine it's going to be in the MCU, since I'm pretty sure that deal between them and Marvel Disney is still in effect. But there aren't many details beyond that, just those notes I mentioned. What do you think, Al?
I'll also add, I saw an interview with Tom Holland as he's promoting his Apple TV show or movie, whatever it is. And he was asked about Spider-Man and Spider-Verse, and he said that he thinks that the first Spider-Verse movie is the best Spider-Man movie ever made, is what Tom Holland said. And he said he was supposed to be Amy Pascal's date to the premiere of Across the Spider-Verse, and he had to go to work and promote his movie, so he couldn't be there, but he was really excited to see it. And then he said, on top of that, I would be a fool to say no if they want to continue my story. And if they continue to make it, and we are reinventing the character, and we are working towards goals, and we are not just getting stale, he said he'd be a fool not to do it. So I think Tom's going to be playing this role, Hugh Jackman style, for a long, long time. But in terms of a live-action Miles Morales, well, actually, first I'll talk about Spider-Woman movie. I think that's great. I think a Spider-Woman movie is a great decision. I think that they can go really hard off of that with Madam Web. I think Madam Web is actually going to be a very, very nice, pleasant surprise, and I'm hoping it will be. I love all the talent involved. So I think a movie like a Spider-Girl movie or Spider-Woman movie could work very well. For Miles Morales, I also think that could work very well. And I've seen a lot of people already say, all right, well, now that we're getting this live-action Miles Morales, how will it fit into the MCU? How can we bring him in? And I say,
what's
pish
the
posh
plan?
to that. I say, let's not do that. I think Sony would be very, very smart to let Tom continue to be Spider-Man in the MCU, get those checks from there, let them use Tom as much as they want, and then start a completely separate universe with Miles Morales. I know fans were hoping they were going to do a Spider-Man 3 with Andrew Garfield and pull him back in after all that stuff. And to be honest, if that happened, I'm not necessarily opposed, but I just think it's the wrong move financially. And I think if you're Sony and you're looking at the fact that clearly fans are not confused by like Venom being in its own thing. Honestly, I'm more confused when Venom suddenly is in the MCU and then not. So I don't think
that was
fans,
a fun few seconds, wasn't it?
I don't think fans are going to be confused with two Spider-Men running around. They're not going to be confused with two Batman running around, which is probably what we're going to get. So I think that the studios are seeing that. I think Amy Pascal, for all her faults, all her leaked emails, is also very smart. And I think going Spider-Woman and Miles Morales is a very, very smart move. Keep it completely separate. Let people make their own really unique, awesome movies. And I think this could work very well. I do not think it would be smart to, with these Across the Spider-Verse movies, get that Miles Morales and have him like land in live action and then he stays in live action. I think that is very much a bad move. Yeah. At least if somehow they reach an agreement, I saw somebody saying that they wanted that to happen, but that he would be in the MCU. And then we would get that Miles Morales in the MCU. That I'm a little slightly more like I could see that work, but I think they would be fools to do any of this. Let Spider-Man Across Spider-Verse be how great it is. And then get a young unknown. Do what you did with Tom Holland. Get a young unknown actor to come in and play Miles and start this new wave of Spider-Man. I think it would be amazing. Anyway, I've ranted here. Your thoughts?
I'll start off with the Spider-Woman movie, whichever version it is, because they don't specify, so I don't know if it's going to be Spider-Gwen and Haley Steinfeld returns to voice the character, or if they do a completely different version of Spider-Woman. Sure, why not? I'm on board, as long as you make the animation interesting. I would be curious about the talent attached, I'm on board. I have no qualms with that. I give it a big thumbs up. The news about a fourth Spider-Man movie with Tom Holland and Zendaya, I give a big thumbs up too, and a big no duh. I think with how all three of these Spider-Man movies have been able to make so much money and have been a really great inclusion for the MCU, I think it only makes sense between not only Disney and Marvel, but also Sony to be able to continue this deal because it's working out very well for everybody. I did see some people on Twitter complaining. I don't think it's a vocal majority or anything like that, but I did see them complain about hearing that Zendaya is also coming back or in talks of coming back, that they're afraid that this is going to retcon and ruin everything that happened with the ending of No Way Home, to which I say, let's not worry about that and just see what they do, because we don't even know in what capacity.
That doesn't make any sense.
We just don't know, like, we don't know what the story is. Like, all they're saying is that these big name actors are in talks. Like, of course they want Zendaya to come back for this movie. So I thought that those comments were a bit silly, and I'm not worried about, like, how she's included at all, because I just have no bearing on what the story is. None of us
That doesn't even make sense. Like, yeah, that doesn't make sense. If Zendaya comes back, how is she going to... She forgot who Peter Parker was. For who Peter Parker is. All the Avengers can still be with Spider-Man. They remember that they have battled with Spider-Man. Zendaya knows that Spider-Man has saved her. She just doesn't know he's Peter. That can happen. You can have interactions. They can re-meet. I think a little love triangle. You throw a little Gwen Stacy, a little college years in there. Ooh.
Yeah,
there we go. There we go.
I completely agree. I think without any... there wasn't even information what the story's about within this story. They're just saying, hey, these top big name actors are coming back to our franchise. Like, of course they're gonna come back, guys.
They're also dating in real life. They're madly in love. And we really don't want that chemistry. We don't want that anymore.
Yeah, let's get rid of that.
People are idiots.
Anyway, I'll talk about Miles Morales now. Yeah, I think obviously there should be a live-action movie for Miles Morales. I don't know whether it needs to happen immediately or if it's going to be in the near future, in a few years down the road after the Spider-Verse movies are all wrapped up. Who knows? But I do think that it's about time that he does get his own standalone movies. And honestly, I don't really give a rip on whether he's in the MCU or not. I think it's a little annoying that people channel their excitement towards thinking about what the plan will be in terms of how he's included in the MCU, rather than just being excited that a Miles Morales live-action movie could happen. It's amazing that this character that got introduced in the 10s has been able to have this big boom now with the Spider-Verse movies. It's almost reminding me of Miles's popularity in the way that Wally West's version of The Flash became popular in the 2000s. Like, when people first watched the animated Justice League show, they first met the Flash character for the first time, and they just assumed that was the first Flash. I know that I was included in that camp until discovering that Barry Allen or Jay Garrick, however you want to put it in terms of timelines, that they were the first Flashes. But that's just the Flash that they grew up with and they grew up knowing the most. Now we're getting that with Miles Morales as Spider-Man, only to, like, a huger degree. Like, younger generations are probably going to know of Miles as Spider-Man more than Peter Parker compared to past generations, which I think is crazy cool to see and witness. And the fact that we're seeing that this excitement for this character is turning not just into, like, a beloved animated character, but also a live-action character, that's a super big deal. So I'm really excited to see what becomes of that movie. I don't care, like I said, if it's in the MCU or not. Honestly, I think what you were saying made sense, Alex, to where you can have Tom Holland be in one corner while Sony can do whatever they want with Miles Morales as Spider-Man, because they already want to do that with their D tier list Spider-Man characters anyway. Why not just have Venom and Miles Morales fight each other? Why do we... Again, like, I don't care either way. I'm just saying that Sony probably would want to do that. So, wherever that goes in live-action terms, I'm just happy that this character is having the big boom that he really is having.
Same. All right, what's next on the docket here?
All right. You ready to talk about Taika Waititi again?
Nope.
Too bad.
That'll be all. Oh, God. Love you, Taika.
All right, Taika. So, this was making the rounds on social media because he had an interview with the Hollywood Reporter, with a quote that definitely got blown out of proportion, saying that the filmmaker behind Casablanca is not a known name because half a century has gone by, to which...
Who is he, Kyle?
I don't remember.
Who directed Casablanca?
Michael-
Don't remember.
Michael Curtis? I think it's
I'm
Michael
gonna find
Curtis.
out because I have no freaking clue. Wow, you knew! I had no idea, but I didn't know because I forget things. ADHD.
So people, especially film people who know like film history, love film history, are big film buff cinephiles, they really took issue with that. But it didn't feel like they'd read the full quote to me, which I have pulled up here.
Read it.
When it comes to this, Taika said, "I'm 47. My God, take the pressure off. People are so obsessed with likes and leaving behind a legacy being remembered. Here's the thing. No one's going to remember us. What's the name of the director of Casablanca? Arguably one of the greatest films of all time. No one knows his name. How the fuck do I expect to be remembered? So who cares?"
That was Taika's quote, not Kyle. Sorry, kids.
Yeah. We don't condone that type of language, kids. But later on in the interview, he also adds, "Let's just live. Make some movies. They'll be obsolete and irrelevant in 15 or 20 years, and so will I, and then I'll die, and someone else can do it. He is going through a midlife crisis, everyone. This whole idea of chasing this life, it's like, do we have to actually work this hard? Maybe not." And a bunch of other parts in the interview that were interesting was Waititi kind of admitting that early in his career, he was convinced of having this self-importance and thinking like every idea that he has should be worthy of being greenlit. Kind of like a narcissism that he admits to. Another quote here, let me see if I can pull it up. "I think it's narcissism, like I convinced my entire life that all my ideas were great. I now know they're not. It was like the Truman Show. I used to think everything was put in front of me for my own amusement. And I would be like, wow, I get to be me, and everyone's just doing stuff for me. And then also that everyone is an idiot, which I still think." Which I found kind of funny. So Alex, where do you want to start off with this? Are we gonna tear Waititi a new one again, or are we gonna forgive him?
There's nothing to forgive. I like Taika a lot, but it sounds like Taika, for the first time in his career, made a bad movie, which he did. And I think that's affected him because every movie and everything he has touched, I have loved up until Thor: Love and Thunder, to the point where we've seen interviews with Chris Hemsworth, and he has said he would continue to play Thor if the character went in a different direction in terms of tone. And I think that's a fair criticism on Taika. I think Taika does have his style, and he has stuck very hard to it. Now, I'm really excited for his new movie. I think it looks awesome, and it looks very much more Taika than some of his last few, at least with Thor. And I like his style, but I think this is a guy who is watching... Look... Film cinephiles get mad at everything. These are the same people who say, I guarantee you, half of the people that said I know who directed Casablanca are also bought billboards for the Snyder Cut. You know, they had to be at least 35% the same. Look, I love Casablanca. I've seen Casablanca a handful of times. I have it on VHS. It's one of my collectibles. It's not up here because I bought special little cases for it, and it's out there. But special cases. I bought the old plastic boys from eBay back in the old Blockbuster days.
That crinkle
baby.
sound when it opens
Absolutely. Anyway, I think that I think he made a bad movie, and I want to see Taika expand his range. I would like to see him do something that is not fully his style. One of the few, look, Quentin Tarantino has such a unique style, and yet he can do humor and drama, and he can switch it up, and it works. Spielberg has a style, and he can switch it up, and it works, and yet still is clearly his style. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're adding more to your skill set when you expand. I want to see Taika expand in that way. You look at Jojo Rabbit, and I think he has started to. Jojo Rabbit, I think, is an expansion on his style. But then he goes back to Thor, and Thor felt like way more of what the parts that can get too much with Taika at times. And I think this is a guy that's clearly going through something, and he made a bad movie, and that's okay. I still love him as a director. I can't wait for season 2 of the Black Sails show, or whatever it was called, that he's a big part of. I know he's big on Reservation Dogs, which is apparently an amazing show. It's been on my watch list for a while. I just have not gotten a chance to get around to it. And I appreciate the movement he's doing for indigenous people in Hollywood, and I appreciate what his conversations on diversity are in Hollywood. So yeah, I think Taika. Look, there's going to be a lot of directors who are and are not remembered. There's a lot of people who are not going to be remembered. Does all this matter in the long run? No. He definitely seems like the guy who wants to smoke a bowl and say, none of this matters anyway, so who cares? You got to worry about what's now and not what's behind or what's too far ahead. You need to just focus on now, and I'm excited for his new movie. And I want to see Michael Fassbender again. It's been a while.
Oh my god, no kidding, right?
Yeah.
I'm really excited for Next Goal Wins. No, I think you said that perfectly in terms of how...
Thank you.
He doesn't need to, change how he makes movies, but maybe just expand on what he does best and just find good ways, as you were saying with Tarantino, to make things a little bit different, not get so stale and not be too familiar. So I liked how you worded that aspect of him as a director. I think the internet took it too far when it came to the Casablanca thing. Yeah, I think this was the point where I was like, okay, we can stop beating up Taika now. We had our fun. We can stop doing it now. Not that I thought that we should have been doing it to begin with. I'm just making a joke. But look, even for myself as a cinephile, I got lucky with guessing that Michael Curtis was the guy that directed Casablanca. I get what he's trying to say. In terms of the vast majority of people who just like to see a movie, obviously they're not gonna know many of the great directors, or even directors from that long ago. It's like me being a football fan. I enjoy watching football currently, but I don't know almost any history when it comes to NFL when it first got started. You know what I mean? I'm not deep in the weeds and loving the sport all that much. It's that type of thing. But I think I thought he was making a fair point when it comes to the Casablanca thing. Probably should not have been the movie to use, just because it's a very beloved movie, and cinephiles are very precious when it comes to film history, so might not have been the wisest, but I don't think it's going to be hurtful for his career or anything like that. But I do think after just hearing all of his other thoughts when it comes to worrying about more in the now and not about the past and the history or the far distant future, it just sounds like a guy that has had such major success these past few years, but it's also hitting a midlife crisis type of situation, in my opinion. Kind of similar to what you were saying in a way, Alex. And I mean, it's fair though. This guy, even his smaller movies, every one of them has been beloved by people watching. He got his big breakout with Thor Ragnarok. On top of that, not too far from Ragnarok, he won an Oscar for Jojo Rabbit. And then he was able to be in, award shows and cameos in blockbusters or roles in blockbusters like Free Guy, and has been producing television shows like Reservation Dogs and
big part of the Mandalorian.
Mandalorian. He's in talks with Star Wars so much now. I think it's only fair that when you get to the top, you can kind of be feeling good about yourself. Even before earlier in your career, if you really thought the way that you did back then, it kind of makes sense why these quotes are coming out of him, because I think he's kind of having that realization of oh, I'm just in such a different position that I remember many years ago, and I think he's just self-reflecting on that. So yeah, I don't blame him at all for feeling this way, especially as he's 47. Not that it's old, but when you probably get to that age, I can imagine, having this realization of oh, I am halfway through life practically, and especially for Waititi, his life has been crazy these past few years. So,
I mean, my life be crazy too if I was dating or married to Rita Ora. Come on, Taika, go home and enjoy it.
He's married to Rita Ora. He might have had a three-way with
awesome.
Tessa Thompson and her.
We
still don't know.
Tessa is so sick of that. I've seen so many interviews where Tessa is what the dumbest thing the internet's ever said about me is. Taika, live your best life. Can I interrupt you and point something else out? Now that I already haven't. So I looked up more about Michael here, our Casablanca guy, and I wanted to see more things he's done and movies I've heard of. He's done movies I have heard of that I have not seen, like Yankee Doodle Dandy, Sons of Liberty, Captain Blood, and look,
lots of different stuff, right?
Here's something I think, and my time in art has been very limited compared to guys like this. But I think there's something to be said. Look, there's those directors that you will know forever. Steven Spielberg. George Lucas didn't direct much, but you are going to know that name 100 years from now. I think a lot of Francis Ford Coppola, I think, might be in there. Martin Scorsese will absolutely be in there. I do think Quentin Tarantino will be in there. Taika still has an absolute chance to get in there. I think Denis Villeneuve is on his way to be in there. But look at a guy like Iñárritu, has made incredible movies like The Revenant and Birdman, and, a lot of people don't know his name. But they know his movies. And as an artist, when I think of Casablanca, Yankee Doodle Dandy, Sons of Liberty, and so, if somebody's talking to me and they're talking about these movies I have heard of that I want to watch. I've seen Casablanca, but I want to watch. And I go, wait, that's the same director, isn't it? And then I go look him up. That is also a very important thing I think about art that's not talked about enough, is the fact that there's enough, you make enough good things. Even if you're not remembered by everyone in the world, if your art is remembered by everybody in the world, then plenty of people are going to be like, who did those again? And look you up. And that is a big thing. That is a big exposure. That's how we get exposed to movies and how we get exposed to different types of movies. And Taika is on his way to, I think, making really important, great stuff. He's made a lot of really great stuff. He just made one bad movie. And guess what? Spielberg's got like 50. And he's the greatest director of all time. Those are my thoughts. Anyway, you got any more?
I think we should really start taking it easy on Taika. Like, I get it, we were critical of Love and Thunder, but now it feels like he's just like the next punching bag of people we don't like anymore because he's just so in the zeitgeist, in the know. It's fine, guys. It's fine. We don't need to worry about every little thing that they say, directors, writers, any sort of person, unless if it's really egregious, then you'll know. But these types of comments, I think that he was self-reflecting on his career, and it wasn't anything to be taken seriously or to take offense of in terms of the Casablanca thing.
Yeah. All right, what's next, or is that it?
Nope, that's all of our topics, my guy.
Guys, what did you think? Comment below. Comment below. Comment below. Let's comment below today. Hey. A boom, bada, bing, walla, 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 zing, yeah. Anyway, hey, we want to give out hoodies. So go do all that stuff we talked about. Thanks for tuning in. And as always,
2000.
Thanks for watching, Mom.
See you guys.